Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
Well, welcome, boys and girls. I'll sit around and answer some questions for a while. The questions are neither mandatory or obligatory, but normally in the past that shut up. They're neither obligatory or mandatory. You should have all the questions out of your system, but I know some of you still don't. Now, I didn't say, or I don't believe I said at the beginning of the seminar, because we're testing it all the time, that I did tell you that people that take the most notes do better. I don't believe I said that people that ask the most questions do worse. I did. Okay, I wanted to make sure I did. Okay. And that's a tough one to judge because some of you will indicate that what I thought was a question wasn't a question. So that was a tough thing to measure. But we gave you a whole bunch of shit that you were supposed to cover before you came here. It's obvious that almost none of you did it. That's not unusual. But Thomas went over every bit of material that we told you to cover, some twice, some 3 times. So Thomas had very few questions. And he took copious notes. Success leaves clues. Unfortunately, the most desperate that come through the seminar aren't necessarily the most literate. Hence, they don't always memorialize vis-a-vis notes the material the best. But one of the things that Peter said, Hospital Peter, the Hungarian Forrest Gump, he said when he went back, he went through all the material again and put it in some sort of not chronological, but some sort of order. That is not a normal habit, but a habit of some of at least 50 or 60% of the guys and the gals that have been very successful. Because as Peter said, I mean, he was candid in saying that he didn't absorb maybe but a fraction, or I forget what he said, 60%. And I don't think anybody really absorbs 60%, even the brightest of the kids that come through. Because there's a lot of material. More importantly, not just the volume of material, because it's what they call cognitive dissonance. It's way outside what your normal thought process or thought pattern is, and so it's harder for you to absorb. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's why it's easier when you take notes, and then you go back and you should reframe those notes, copy them over again. And for those of you that are of a different language, or your basic language is different to, I don't know if you took notes in your home language or in English, but you should reframe them and put them in your home language, or your basic language, or what's called your first language. And these are all teaching techniques that I didn't develop over the years, God knows, but a lot smarter people than I am. I don't consider myself an educator, I don't. I don't, I alluded to the hierarchy of needs, which I think is a load of shit. But I realize that kids that are hungry enough, desperate enough, find a way to reframe the material and put it to good use. And it's changed during Corona, and that's why we've changed the seminar. We didn't have as many webinars before. We didn't. But we've seen that the webinars work. I don't know why. Emotionally, I don't see why they work. Intellectually, I believe they work because I see they work. I don't know why. And even though I wouldn't buy anything from Thomas, God bless you, Thomas, because he doesn't sell the way I would buy. But to look at the audience, you were moved. 2 or 3 were insulted because he talks down to you, and he does, but you deserve to be talking down because you're morons. But I mean, he's like a religious zealot. And I don't think it's by accident that a good percentage of the kids in the last several years that have carried through successfully with QLA are religious zealots. I also don't think it's a coincidence that outside the Germanic people, Asians are carrying the banner. Thomas is Asian, Josh is Asian, and we have other Asian kids. I'm not sure, other than I know Asians in general, when our kids went to university and graduate school, Asians almost always led the class with grades. They were hungry. Other than that, I'm not sure why. But now you're at the end of it. So you're going to go back in the next few hours, and you're either going to follow up or you're not going to follow up. It's your choice. You're not going to be able to contact me, you know. I only want to hear when you do deals. And 100% of the time when you ask, and you're still going to contact Kim. And Kim is going to tell you, Dan would ask you, what does your board say? That's my only response. And 50% of you won't have a board because you are going to try to figure shit out without taking the first step of getting the chairman, et cetera, and following the steps. I can tell by the questions you ask Kim or try to filter through Kim whether you're following the steps or not. Now, even if you're following the steps, I won't answer you. Because if we learned anything in the several years of our mentor program is you use me as a crutch. And it hinders your progress. It may make you feel better because you have somebody to ask, i.e. me, but it hinders your progress and it slows you down. Because I want to separate the wheat from the chaff as early as possible. If you're going to fail, fail fast and leave me alone. And if you're going to make it, you know, then you'll make it. But nobody in this room is going to succeed or fail based on being able to contact me. You may think so, but you won't. We have enough data to prove that the kids in, not just this room, but the rooms past, either want it or they don't want it. And the biggest speed bump, like we have speed bumps in the drive here, that you will consider Mount Everest bumps, are going to be, will be the relationship you have or you don't have with your family. That's a proven fact. And, you know, I have no magic words to tell you how to make that easier. Either suck up your pantyhose, or as I think the Viking bitch said, pull up my big boy pants, or I forget how she put it, or you don't. That's it. There's no other answer to it. And some of you will excel at that, and some of you won't. And it's just because you don't excel the first few months doesn't mean you're going to fail. It'll just mean that you're on the slow program, the slow boat to China program. And I'm selfish enough to, and I've already told you, I don't want you to be on the slow boat to China program. I want you to be on the fast boat. I want you to, you know, get it done as quick as humanly possible. And and there's always a reason why, or an excuse why, or procrastination why. Your daughter's this, your husband this, your father-in-law this. There's all kind of shit reasons. And we already know that for anybody that's, other than 3 or 4 of you kids, you're all adults that have been around the block, or maybe not once, but at least half the time. And you know that life gets in the way. And shit happens. Shit happens. Whether you're from Mexico or from Persia or from New Jersey. New Jersey is kind of like Persia, but anyway, that's a whole other story. I can give a seminar on that. Shit happens. And that's why I left the United States, because I know for the Latinos, Hispanic culture, familia is a big fucking deal. And for me to get away, I got completely away, from Southern California to here, 5,000-6,000 miles. And that's how I dealt with it. Now, at the time, I didn't intellectualize why I was going to Europe, that I was dealing with separation of family. I didn't think that through. I wasn't either bright enough or mature enough. Of course, now in hindsight, hindsight's 20/20, I realize why I did it. And it worked out. Now, enough pontification. Now I'll answer some questions if you like. Please use the mic. The shittier it gets, it's better for us. As long as there's still some semblance of human race, and it won't be Bitfuck that saves us, or saves you, for sure, which I find amusing. I love Charlie Munger, and I hope he lives to be 130. But like he says, Bitcoin is rat poisoning squared. But for those of you that haven't lived through it, if the average meathead understood that 95% of all Bitcoin is 100 to 1 leveraged, but they don't. And that's what took down the financial combine in the Great Depression of 29. Because the last time we were as highly leveraged as we are now was the Great Depression. And now that the meatheads think that QLA coin, and I could start a Bitcoin. I got enough money to do that. And I know with crowdfunding for the meatheads, I could raise a lot more money than probably I have. We could have some fun, but I'm not going to do that. But I appreciate the sentiment, kids. But it's fucked. It's just fucked. We have a spoiled child here in our midst who says that she wasn't born with a silver spoon. And we all know that's a load of shit. But I take my hat off to her because she wants to do something, beyond her family. And that's great. Most of the kids that were born with silver spoons don't have that attitude. So I take my hat off to her, and I look forward to see her successes and her progress. Other question? Yes, sir.
As Prime Minister, will you reform the British Empire?
Yes. We're going to go back and take all this shit back. 120 years ago, the British Empire ruled 2/3 of the planet with something called gunboat diplomacy. They didn't give a fuck what anybody thought. I will take us back to that glory. I will recommission myself as an officer, be the head of the army, and we'll have some goddamn fun. Yes, actually good. I'm sure I'll get some shit about that, but I don't care. What are they going to do to me? Nothing. We have no debt. All we have is cash. What are they going to foreclose? They can't foreclose on me, but fuck you. I don't care. And I have a Irish wife. I don't even say anything more about that. I mean, the Murphs in the room know what I mean. Other question. I set big goals, In my 80s, maybe I'll mellow a little. Maybe not. I plan on giving seminars till I'm 80. Unless I get hit by a truck or some shit, I'll die. But I plan on it because I still enjoy it. Although this group, I'm not bullshitting, tested my patience more than once. And who within the group tested my patience. And even though I teased the Murphs and I teased the Hans, But I mean, they tested my patience. It's hard for me to deal with people that ask questions, the same question over and over and over and over again. And that's based on insecurity, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-confidence. You do a deal for the guys, your dick's gonna grow 2 inches. It's no accident that my successful mentees are all having kids now that haven't had kids in years. That's not an accident. No, your nipples are going to grow an inch, and your clitoris is going to be more sensitive. And if you can have a multiple orgasm now for 15, 20 minutes, you're going to be able to have it for 2 or 3 hours. You prefer to be what? Thin. Well, you're Mexican. That ain't going to happen. I know. I have the same fat genes you do, okay? And it's tough to get thin. And I told you, my mom, when she was dying, she says, forgive me for leaving you with my fat genes. On her deathbed. I didn't think anything of it, but now I do, as I hold my rolls of fat. Okay. What else? Yes, sir, in the back.
When should you crush someone?
Well, no, I mean, that's, I'm not promoting fighting and that kind of shit. But, 99% fail the success test now. It used to be 96%. In the last several years, it's gone up to 99. And it's one of the first simple questions. Somebody, there's 3 questions. Spits in your significant other's face, grabs your significant other by the ass, I forget what the other one is. And the kids, 99% of them say that they wouldn't punch him, they wouldn't hit him, they wouldn't do anything. They would, there's 2 or 3 answers that are possible answers. Now, guys, I'm not promoting you go out and look for fights. But if somebody spits in your wife's face, Jesus Christ, where are we today that you don't want to pick up a bottle or a brick or a fucking knife and fuck them up? I tell the story of my cousin, Ronnie, who I love dearly, who's still alive. A guy said, he went to Lincoln High School in East LA. A guy said that Ronnie's girlfriend had an ass like 2 pigs in a gunny sack. Okay, you got the visual? And Ronnie stabbed him 17 times. Didn't touch her. He went to prison, blah, blah, blah. Huh? Oh, yeah, I mean, he's so, no, they didn't get married. And Ronnie, I had lunch with him 3 or 4 years ago. He said, Danny, you were the troublemaker, and I go to prison. And I was the troublemaker. I always thought of a way to stir the pot of shit since I'm a little kid. Since I was a little kid. But now, today, the kids, not just millennials, but whatever, or after millennials, come up with a reason why it's not, honorable. In the old days, you would fight a duel. Pistols or swords, asshole. At dawn, pistols or swords. Well, those days are long gone. Now, when I was a kid, they didn't wait till dawn. They hit you in the head with a fucking brick right then. And I realized that we're more civilized now. I understand that. I don't particularly like being more civilized now. But there seems something just wrong to me that a guy could, grab your wife's ass or spit in her face and you don't do anything about it. I just don't understand that. At the core of me, I just don't understand it. Yet most people would turn their back. It's like I showed you the slide. 75% of the people that would see, an old lady getting beat up or something wrong, they would rather take a picture with their iPhone than try to help. I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. I sure as hell wouldn't. I believe with all my heart my kids wouldn't. But that's where we are. And that's why I hope the next war is nuclear. So we're not in trenches, in hand-to-hand combat. And it's all better for us. The weaker the world gets, the better it is for us geometrically. And there's a lot of weak cunts out there. It's unbelievable. Now, the good news is when I travel around now, because I look old, people give me their seat. I don't like that. I already told you that. I don't fucking like that. If somebody gets up and says, "Sir, would you like my seat?" I want to smack him. I appreciate him doing it. Girls give me their seat. That even makes me feel worse. And then normally I give the seat to Sally. Nobody gets up to give Sally a seat. So when they give me their seat, I give my seat to Sally. But the world's in a different place, which again makes it easier for us. So we're taking advantage with QLA of the ineptness in of current society. And I don't feel bad about that at all. Not in the least. Not in the least. And I feel sorry for them. And I feel sorry for adults that are having kids now, because it's a bitch raising kids. It is. At the very best, it's bad. It's hard, not bad. It's hard. But now, I mean, it's unbelievable. And now a lot of kids are raised with single parents. And I think that's not good. And although there's justification that single parenthood's all right, I don't know what they're smoking, but I don't believe that. But all these things that I rant on about are good for us. And that's why some people really have disdain for the QLA program, because they feel that we're taking advantage. And we are. We're not robbing banks and shit. We're just taking advantage of the ineptitude of the human race now. We're taking advantage, we're utilizing all of our, upside. And from chaos comes order. And unfortunately, there's a lot of chaos. To me, intellectually, and I haven't asked you, and I'm not asking you, a lot of the movements, they want to reduce police. Yet when they reduce police, they complain that people are robbing them. I don't get that. I don't get that. Other question? Yes, sir, in the back.
Who invented QLA? Just you probably told us, but was it Carnegie? No.
No, Carnegie didn't invent QLA. Carnegie invented no equity investors, because the kid, well, even as an old man, didn't like the dilution that equity investors brought to the deals. So when you go back and study his deals from 1860, actually after the Civil War, he had virtually no equity investors. He always figured a way to use commercial debt, bank debt, or the railroads would finance it, or somebody would finance it. But he didn't get equity investors. And then I saw that early on in my financial career, and I said, well, fuck. And Andrew Carnegie started with no money. And when I got out of graduate school, I was still in graduate school, I had no money. And I said, well, fuck, I think it's going to work. And at first, I did it with clients, and of course, they loved it. There was no dilution. Then I did it for myself, and then when I left Wall Street firms and started Great Western, I mean, we used it, and very successfully. And I didn't realize in the beginning how popular it would be, because you don't want to be diluted if you can't. And equity infusion, other than the two deals that Peter did, the best two deals I've seen in 25 years, you're going to be diluted. And normally, the guy that puts up the money, the group that puts up the money, the gal that puts up the money, takes the equity in the deal takes the lion's share. That's just the way it is, no matter where you are. And when I figured that out, I had an epiphany. Fuck, this makes sense. But I've been 50 years trying to convince people. And then 20 years ago when I started this coaching, it still wasn't difficult. It still wasn't hard. It still was very hard, to convince people. Because you will see, remember I said one of the 2 or 3 most difficult things is to convince your board you don't need equity. You will be asked, where the fucking money coming from? And when you tell them it's not, they will lose heart and some people will just leave. But then once you do 1 or 2, they get on like heroin. They're taking heroin. They realize it's possible. And then they say, well, fuck. If they don't tell you verbally, consciously, subconsciously, they think, I could have been doing this 20, 30, 40 years. And they could. It's no magic. I'm not taking credit. And unlike some of the other gurus, I don't take credit for Andrew Carnegie's idea. I don't. 1,000 years from now, assuming we don't, die or drown from global warming, this is the greatest thing in sliced bread. And the example I put on the internet a few days ago, vis-a-vis Bitfuck, there's no fucking comparison. None. And for the Hermans in the room, they can relate to my German, not poster boy yet, but it's pretty fucking, I can't make it any more simple. He has $8 million after 18 months. If you bought Bitcoin at the same time he started, you got $29,000. Fuck. What does it take? But the guys that are Bitcoin zealots are zealots. Just as you heard Thomas today, they're just as much zealots as Thomas is. They think that Bitcoin is going to be the savior of humanity. Now, blockchain may be the savior, but there's a differentiation between fucking blockchain and fucking Bitfuck. They're 2 separate fucking things. And unfortunately, most of the people aren't bright enough to understand that. Blockchain, and I don't understand it fully, is a great concept. But Bitcoin's something different. That's a long-winded answer, but at Carnegie, I copied. And it was like deja vu when we were at Skibo Castle last year, going around to think the little fart was walking through those hallowed halls. And it's a lovely estate. And again, it's no accident that that slide that shows this estate and shows Skibo, because that was one of the goals. Just like we did goals, that was one of my goals and my affirmations. Just as Plato, Socrates, and myself. And the shit happens. And even though it's hard for me to swallow when Thomas is selling it, because he sells it hard. But this shit that in a year that he's accomplished, I won't say it's unbelievable because I've seen other kids do it, but it's fucking phenomenal. From fucking scratch. And you can do it. And he said, I know he wasn't being disingenuous. You can do it too. And he's just, and I've seen him from when he started. I just, Peter. Some of the kids that have gotten rich, he's going to get rich. He or she sounds like they're going to make a lot of money. But some of these fucking kids are just like a kindergarten student got rich. And that still surprises even me. When Sally says, and Sally is your biggest supporter, Jesus, man, have you been keeping track of what he did? It's unfucking believable. Yeah, I have. then my job is to keep you don't go off the fucking rails. The younger the fortunes, the more sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Because it's easy to get off the rails. One, if you've never had any money whatsoever, and all of a sudden you're fucking rich, and it just, they go fucking batshit crazy. And the guys go more batshit crazy than the gals. The gals are more settled. I don't know if that's the right word, but I mean, they're more settled. And the guys are just fucking bonker fuck, crazy. And a stiff dick has no conscience. I mean, that sounds awful and vulgar, but it's the fucking truth. And then when you got tens of millions, hundreds of millions, it's very easy to find a place to put that stiff dick, believe me. You don't have to go looking. They will find you. They will seek you out. They will hunt you down like a fucking dog. Thank you, Allah. Thank you. I'm too old for that shit now, but thank you. I had my run. I have no complaints, and I don't. And I was single, which I always had. And because I was single. I was single. And now Sally has a choke chain on me, an electronic choke chain. Oh, she's jolting me right now. She's standing right there. I have an electronic choke chain. Yeah. Pardon? Yeah. Yeah, and I can't get too far. Sally doesn't let me, I won't say out of her sight. I can't travel by myself anymore. I don't want to travel by myself anymore. But Sally wouldn't allow me anyway, She says, there's ugly people out there. She's talking about women, mostly, So, but it's, so we have fun with it. But we're looking forward to going back and traveling again and spending money, and we've been hampered in our ability to spend money because we haven't gone anyplace. But Sally's got some trips. And for my 80th birthday, we're renting the Queen Elizabeth's old yacht, Hebridean Princess, for my 80th birthday. Sail around to have some fun. It's a lot easier to rent one than it is to buy one for $200 million. I haven't been down that road. Other questions? Yes, sir, in the back.
What's your favorite gift that Sally or anyone else has ever given you?
100 million pounds on my 39th birthday. I took the company public, and with the stroke of the bell, when they hit, I was 100 million pounds richer, which is now is about 300 or 400 million. But Sally gives me some pretty terrific gifts, the rolls and stuff that we had handmade, and I have expensive, bespoke jewelry made by Tiffany's and Graff and stuff like that. But I enjoy giving Sally her convertible rolls a couple of days ago. I saw her. I haven't seen her smile like that, but a few times in her lifetime. And I've given her a lot of shit over the years, but and that's nice, to do that for somebody that you care about. But if you don't have the money, you kiss them on the cheek and give them a card. Now I know some of you kiss them on the cheek and give them a card. And I know the intent's supposed to be the same, isn't it? But it's not. And if you delude yourself into thinking it's fucking the same, maybe the alcohol and drugs have rotted your brain. Like Sally's 16-carat diamond ring she wears on her finger is different than a card that says, all the love and riches to you, honey. It's just different. Isn't it, Sally? Anything else? Okay, YouTube, thank you very much. Go fuck yourself. Sign up. We have no sales. I apologize for charging for YouTube. I wish I got paid more money for it anyway. But next seminar is in about a month, right, Cap? And then the next seminar after that is in about a month, which is August. We have some big hitters starting to come in September again, and for the hardcore. And right now, the world is our oyster. I mean, if we pull the trigger. Good night. Thank you.